used to be her strength. Now...
I used to be her strength. Now I'm her fear. The sticky note on my fridge might as well have been a death certificate. Pink paper, Ashley's perfect handwriting, and 23 words that ended 12 years of marriage. Gone for 2 weeks with Chase. Need space. Please respect my journey. Ashley. I stood there in my boxers, and yesterday's work shirt, holding my morning coffee like it was the last normal thing in my world, which as it turned out, it was. My name's Jake Morrison, and I fix cars for a living. Not glamorous, but honest work. My hands are permanently stained with motor oil. My back aches from crawling under engines. And I smell like WD-40 more often than cologne. Ashley used to say she loved that about me, the realness of it all. That was before she discovered yoga pants, green smoothies, and apparently, personal trainers named Chase. The house felt different now. Like a museum exhibit titled Failed Marriage. American Suburb Edition. Everything was too clean, too staged. Ashley's vanilla candles still burned in the living room, their sickly sweet scent mixing with the ghost of her expensive perfume. The security cameras she'd insisted on installing last month suddenly made sense. She'd been planning this. I walked to the kitchen window and looked out at our manicured lawn. Mrs. Delaney from next door was already peeking through her blinds. In a town like Millfield, news traveled faster than gossip at a church potluck. By noon, everyone would know Ashley Morrison had left her mechanic husband for a younger man. The burner phone was hidden behind the coffee filters. Amateur hour, really. I almost laughed at how cliché it was, the cheating wife's secret device. Like something out of a bad movie. But the messages inside were real enough. 3 months of explicit texts, selfies in my favorite flannel shirt, and hotel bookings that made my stomach turn. Chase Brennan, 28 years old, personal trainer at Elite Fitness, drives a leased Tesla, and apparently specializes in helping married women discover their inner goddess. His Instagram was a parade of shirtless gym selfies and motivational quotes about living your truth. The kind of guy who used literally, in every sentence and thought protein powder was a food group. I scrolled through their conversations, each message a fresh knife twist. Ashley, my practical wife who used to mock social media influencers, was now sending heart eye emojis and planning weekend getaways. The woman who once said, Chase looked like a Ken doll with daddy issues, was now calling him her soulmate. My phone buzzed. A text from my business partner, Mike. Saw Ashley's car at the airport. Everything okay? I typed back. Never better. She's on a journey of self-discovery. What kind of journey? The kind that ends with divorce papers. The house phone rang. Ashley's voice on the answering machine. Breathless and panicked. Jake, I know you're there. Pick up. We need to talk about this like adults. I'm not the villain here. We both know this marriage has been dead for years. I just had the courage to do something about it. Courage. That's what she called abandoning your husband via post-it note. I poured another coffee and sat at our kitchen table, the same table where we'd planned our future, discussed having kids, argued about money. Now it felt like evidence of my own stupidity. How long had she been planning this? How many of our friends knew? How many pitying looks had I missed? The garage was my sanctuary. Always had been. I owned Morrison's Auto Repair on the edge of town, a place where things made sense. Engines had problems. You diagnosed them. You fixed them. No hidden meanings. No emotional manipulation. Just honest work with predictable outcomes. Mike was waiting for me when I arrived. Along with Tommy and Rick, my other mechanics, 3 guys who'd been with me for years. Who understood that loyalty meant something. Boss, Mike said, not quite meeting my eyes. Heard about Ashley. News travels fast. Mrs. Patterson was in for an oil change this morning. Said she saw Ashley loading suitcases at 5 a.m. Of course she did. Mrs. Patterson probably had a police scanner and a direct line to the town newspaper. So what's the plan? Tommy asked. I looked at my guys. Mike with his beer gut, an endless supply of bad jokes. Tommy, who could diagnose any engine problem by sound alone. Rick, who was putting 2 kids through college on a mechanic's salary. These were my people. Not Ashley's wine and cheese. Crowd who always made me feel like the hired help at my own dinner parties. The plan is we work, I said. Same as always. But even as I said it, I knew everything had changed. Ashley had made her choice, and now I had to make mine. The question was, did I want to be the victim in this story? Or did I want to be something else entirely? By lunch, my phone had 17 missed calls from Ashley. I deleted them all without listening. The week-to-week rental above Frankie's boxing gym smelled like decades of sweat, broken dreams, and industrial disinfectant. The walls were thin enough that I could hear every grunt, every punch hitting the heavy bag, every motivational speech Frankie gave to kids who thought fighting was their ticket out of nowhere. It was perfect. Ashley had been back from her journey for 3 days, and the panic in her voice messages was escalating beautifully. Turns out, Chase had been delayed at customs, something about irregularities in his passport. Amazing how a simple phone call to my buddy Derek, who worked border security, could create such inconvenient random inspections. I was nursing my morning coffee when Mrs. Delaney knocked on my door. She was holding a casserole dish and wearing the expression of someone who'd won the neighborhood gossip lottery. "Jake, honey, I brought you some tuna noodle casserole. Figured you might need some home cooking." Translation: I want details and I'm bribing you with carbs. That's kind of you, Mrs. Delaney. Such a shame about Ashley. Though between you and me, I always thought she had airs about her. Remember when she complained about my wind chimes being too loud? Wind chimes. Like the sound of gentle music was somehow offensive to her delicate sensibilities. I let her talk. In a town like Millfield, Mrs. Delaney was better than a PR firm. By evening, her version of events would reach every coffee shop, hair salon, and church basement, in a 10-mile radius. Of course, some folks are saying you drove her to it, she continued, watching my face carefully. Working all the time, never taking her anywhere fancy. But I told Marge Hendricks, I said, that man worked his fingers to the bone for that woman, and this is how she repays him. I appreciate the support, Mrs. Delaney. You know what? You need a good lawyer. My nephew Danny handles divorces. Took his own wife to the cleaners after she ran off with her Pilates instructor. Got the house, the car, and half her retirement fund. I filed that information away. I'll keep that in mind. When she left, I headed downstairs. Frankie, the gym owner, was barking orders at a teenage boxer. Footwork, balance. He spotted me. Morrison, you look like hell. Feel worse. Good anger makes you focused. Get changed. 20 minutes later, I was pounding the heavy bag, each punch a memory. Ashley rolling her eyes when I tracked mud inside. Ashley introducing me as just my husband. Frankie grunted. Your wife called here this morning. Wanted to know if you were acting erratic. I froze. What did you tell her? That she shouldn't have run off with some muscled up pretty boy if she was worried about your mental state. I laughed despite myself. He was right. Ashley couldn't stand losing control of the narrative, but the control was already gone. I was walking back to my apartment when I saw it. My truck parked behind the gym, bright red letters sprayed across the hood. Not enough man. The rage hit like a body blow. This wasn't random vandalism. It was a message. Someone wanted me branded with it, the inadequate husband, who couldn't keep his wife satisfied. I called the police more out of formality than hope. Officer Martinez arrived 20 minutes later. Camera flashing. Questions routine. Any enemies? He asked. My wife left me for her trainer. I said, take your pick. He nodded, sympathy etched into his tired face. Could be random, he offered, though his tone said otherwise. Install cameras, Jake. And watch your back. Domestic messes turn ugly fast. When he drove off, I stood staring at the truck. $800 to fix the paint money I didn't have, but the real cost was humiliation. Every person who passed would read my failure in red. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number. How does it feel to lose everything? Ashley wouldn't hide behind an anonymous text. Chase didn't have the brains for mind games. So who was it? I saved the number and went upstairs. Time to stop playing defense. At 3 a.m., sleep wouldn't come. So I did what every broken man does. I scrolled through my ex's social media. Ashley's Instagram was a curated museum of perfect marriage. Vacation smiles, candlelit dinners, anniversary captions. And there, in the comments, I found the clue. Vanessa Chen, Ashley's college roommate, maid of honor, and personal poison whisperer. Her comment read, sometimes we have to break a few hearts to find our true selves. So proud of you for following your bliss. Of course. Vanessa, the self-appointed life coach, with 2 divorces and a degree in smugness. Her own marriage had imploded 6 months ago. Her husband ran off with a coworker, and half her assets. Now she was recruiting. Misery doesn't like company, it creates it. Next morning I drove to Elite Fitness. Chase's white Tesla gleamed in the parking lot, vanity plate reading Fit God. Through the glass, I watched him perform hands on a client's shoulders. Same charm routine he'd used on Ashley. When he finished, I followed him to the smoothie bar. Chase Brennan, I said. He turned, that confident grin slipping the second he recognized me. Jake, hey man. Look about Ashley. Relax. I cut in. I'm not here to fight. He blinked. You're not. I actually wanted to thank you, I said, for showing me who my wife really is. Confusion replaced fear. This wasn't the angry husband script he'd practiced. That's mature of you. I'm a mature guy, I said. Mind if I grab a picture? For Ashley's socials. She love it. Before he could protest, I snapped the shot him holding a warrior goddess bowl. Smile, uncertain, eyes nervous. That night, I posted it to Ashley's Instagram. When you find your soulmate, every moment is a celebration. #blessed, #newbeginnings.com. Within hours, the comments co-workers, family, all seeing me publicly celebrate her affair. Perfect. But I wasn't finished. That afternoon I visited Danny Hendricks, Mrs. Delaney's nephew, the divorced shark. His office sat above the hardware store, walls lined with dusty trophies and cheap law degrees. So, Mrs. Delaney says your wife stepped out with some pretty boy trainer, he said, leaning back. That's the situation. Kids, no. Assets. House joint. Shop's mine. He smiled. Redditors. Any proof? I slid the burner phone across his desk. Enough. He grinned wider. More than enough. Adultery plays well in court. We can make this very expensive for her. I don't want her money, I said. I want her to understand what losing everything feels like. Danny's pen paused mid. You know, he said slowly, most guys just want to move on. But you're thinking strategically. I'm a problem solver, I said. Good, he replied, because I've got ideas. We spent an hour building the blueprint, perfectly legal, absolutely devastating. When I left his office, I felt something new, hope. My phone rang as I reached my truck. Ashley. Jake, we need to talk. That post on my Instagram, you can't do that. It's humiliating. For who? For both of us. People are asking questions. My boss called. My mother's crying. Sounds like a personal problem. Jake, please. We're adults. Let's handle this maturely. Like leaving a note on the fridge. Silence. Then, I just want to get my things. When? Tonight. 7. I'll make sure the door's unlocked. Then I called Mike. Bring Tommy and Rick. We're going to have some fun. 7 p.m. sharp. Ashley's silver BMW rolled into the driveway. Vanessa rode shotgun back up in witness. They sat in the car for 5 minutes, whispering. Finally, Ashley stepped out, every move cautious. Vanessa followed, phone in hand, recording maybe. What they didn't know, I'd changed the locks, installed recorders, and invited an audience. Mike, Tommy, and Rick working late in the garage. Mrs. Delaney watering her garden. Officer Martinez patrolling the street on a suspicious activity. Call I'd made myself. Ashley knocked. I took my time answering. Jake, she said with a nervous smile. Thanks for letting me come by. Come on in, I said pleasantly. She exhaled, relief visible. Vanessa trailed behind her, scanning corners like we were hiding snipers. I just need some clothes and personal items, Ashley said. Take whatever you want. I'm not attached anymore. Upstairs they went, drawers opening, whispers hissing. 20 minutes later they returned with 2 suitcases and a box of books. That's it, I asked. For now. I'll come back later. When we've processed everything. Processed, I repeated. That what we're calling it? Jake, I know you're angry. I'm not angry, I said evenly. I'm grateful. Vanessa frowned. Grateful. For the wake-up call. For showing me what my life really was. For giving me the chance to start over with someone who actually wants me. Ashley stiffened. You're seeing someone. Exploring my options, I said. Turns out plenty of women appreciate a man with a steady job and actual emotional intelligence. A lie, but an effective one. Vanessa bristled. That's none of your business. Oh, but your advice was my business, right? I turned to her. You told Ashley to find herself, to chase excitement, to follow her bliss. I never, didn't you? She said you did. You encouraged her to join that gym, to test her marriage, to see what else was out there. Ashley looked between us, confused. Vanessa, what's he talking about? Nothing. He's trying to cause drama. Am I? I pulled out my phone. Because I've got voicemails that sound an awful lot like you. Bluff. Total bluff. Vanessa paled. Ashley's confusion turned to suspicion. You've been manipulating her, I said. Feeding her dissatisfaction because you couldn't stand seeing her happy while your own life fell apart. That's not. Your husband left you, didn't he? Took your money. Left you bitter. So you dragged Ashley down with you. Ashley's voice cracked. Vanessa, is this true? Don't listen to him. Vanessa snapped.com. But guilt was written all over her. You didn't care about her happiness, I said. You just wanted company in your misery. Vanessa finally broke. You were wasting your life with him. Ashley, you said so yourself. I just helped you see it. By encouraging her to sleep with a trainer, who's cheating on half his clients, I added. What? Ashley's head whipped toward me. I pulled up Chase's Instagram new photos, new women, same captions. Your soulmate has a rotation. Your Tuesday and Thursday. Ashley scrolled, face collapsing. He told me I was special. You were, Vanessa said weakly. This doesn't change. It changes everything. Ashley exploded. You ruined my marriage for this. The argument that followed was pure theater. 12 years of friendship detonated in front of me. By the time Vanessa stormed out, Ashley was crying. Jake, she whispered. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. You didn't want to know, I said quietly. Big difference. Can we fix this? Try again. I looked at her, the beauty, the intelligence, the selfishness. She'd thrown away 12 years for someone else's validation. No, I said. Jake, please. The papers will be filed tomorrow. Danny Hendricks is my lawyer. Get your own. You're divorcing me over this. You divorced me the moment you walked out that door. When she left, I sat in the silence. For the first time, it felt like peace. 6 weeks had passed. The divorce papers were signed. Jake felt lighter than he had in years. The wounds of the past were still there. But a quiet peace had settled in their place. He sold the house and bought a small cabin on the edge of Miller's Lake. The shop was busier than ever, thriving under his hands. For the first time in a long time, he was living for himself, enjoying the rewards of his own work. The high school reunion approached Ashley's stage. The perfect venue for showing off her life. Jake arrived, not with anger or revenge, but with calm confidence. He wanted only to see where he stood now, and to close the chapter of a life that had tried to break him. He walked into the gymnasium, wearing a suit that fit him perfectly. Ashley was there, smiling stiffly, dressed in red, the image of fashion and wealth. But to Jake, she was no longer the woman he had married. She had become a lesson, and that lesson was freedom. Everyone noticed. Jake Morrison was happy, confident, and completely free. No one expected him to rise from heartbreak stronger than ever. Ashley's gaze found him. But it was no longer filled with fear or control, it was regret, with a hint of understanding too late. Jake took the microphone and addressed the room. Friends, it might seem strange, but I am happy today. This journey, painful as it was, taught me a lot about loyalty, about trust, and about the people we choose to surround ourselves with. Sometimes, the greatest loss is also the greatest gift. I've learned that the people who truly stand by us are the ones who matter, and that losing someone who doesn't value you can set you free. Life isn't about holding on to what's gone. It's about finding what makes you whole. The room was silent, every eye on him. Ashley looked at him, realizing she could not change what had happened. Jake returned the microphone to the DJ and stepped away, knowing this was his story to live, not hers to control. After the reunion, Jake embraced his new life fully. The cabin, the lake, the shop, and a budding romance with Susan, a woman who appreciated him for who he was, not who someone wanted him to be. Ashley and Vanessa had moved on to their own lives, leaving him the space to rebuild without distraction. Jake had learned that the best revenge isn't humiliation. The best revenge is living well, living fully, and becoming the person you were meant to be. He was no longer the accommodating husband, no longer the man who shrank himself for others. He had become stronger, wiser, and free. Ashley had wanted him to be the villain in her story of self-discovery. Instead, He had become the hero of his own story, the man who survived betrayal, reclaimed his life, and discovered that happiness was his own to define.